Yo!
Wow.
What's up, punks?
What's up, guys?
How's it going?
Good,
Who's this
Brian. We
guy?
haven't talked to you in a while, man.
Yeah, it's great to see you again.
Brian who? What is his name? And where
what
does
is
he
my
come
name?
from?
Please, Jay, enlighten us.
Okay, introduce him.
Say everything you know about
Brian
me.
need an intro. All right, so first of all,
needs an
Brian
intro.
grew up in New Jersey.
Okay.
Very nice.
Maybe
true.
not. We don't know you go that far, but okay.
I know
I'm
that.
impressed he knew that, actually.
Brian actually took fencing classes.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, making up other things.
No, not
Well, that's
Brian
Oh,
used
is
to
it?
be a professor. He used to teach people physics, and then he decided that he was going to become a 80s cover
Inspired.
band that writes their own songs, basically,
okay.
right?
demeaning but true. Yeah.
Interesting.
And Brian just got back from a 6-week tour that he did last spring.
Yeah,
I know
exactly.
other things, but I
Important
can't.
thing,
No, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
That's the most important thing.
But
You play a mean sax.
he does.
Oh yes,
Thank you,
that's
Bob.
true.
That's true.
That's true.
He
Awesome.
does. One of my favorite characters of all time.
Thanks. Yeah, it's awesome to be on with you guys. Thanks for having me back.
You too, man. Bob, how you doing?
Good. Prepping for 4th of July.
Ooh,
Yeah, Bob's having a birthday party at his house.
every year.
Lots
I
of
was
work.
thinking about you today, Bob, because when we used to prep for that party, it was a lot of work, and I love going to parties where I don't have to do any work, because things usually happen at my house. So I'm really looking forward to going over to Bob's and sitting there and just consume things.
I was going to invite you this weekend over to help me prep, but I guess I won't do that now.
Oh wait, introducing another doctor.
Uh-oh.
Oh, Christ.
There he is.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, Brian. How you doing, man?
Good.
What's
How are
up?
What's up?
What is up?
So now that Steve is here, I wanted to tell you guys. So if you remember on the SGU episode where we do predictions for next year, I predicted that Cybertrucks were going to the Tesla Cybertrucks were going to be recalled, and it's starting to happen.
Haven't they done a bunch of them?
Yeah, there's been a lot of recalls.
They've had 3 big ones in the past month or.
I think it's been 4 total, right?
You're up to
Yeah.
4 now
But the thing that I like the most
total.
is that well, this is bad, but I mean, I like it because I don't like Elon anymore. because he really drove straight off of a cliff. You know what I mean? Like that guy. I mean, whatever. Everybody knows. So somebody went on to one of the lots where they had like 100 Cybertrucks and spray painted on every single one of them F Elon.
Yeah, I saw that.
Wow.
Did you see any pictures from that, guys?
Yes.
I saw the one you just
No.
sent, which is
Yeah,
nuts.
let me just share that because that's
Do you guys see them around? So I'm in LA. I see them all over the place here.
Yeah.
I
There's
saw
a ton
one
everywhere.
in the wild. Yeah, I saw one on the highway.
in the wild.
Damn, they're ugly.
Mhm.
They're just so ugly.
Yes. And I thought like I don't know how many they made so far, but I see like a couple a week here now, just
Mhm.
driving around park. We
Yep.
saw a lime green one the
Oh,
other day,
wow.
which my 10-year-old grudgingly admitted was cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, I watched a few videos on them and like all the problems that they're having, and there's a lot of like quality of life problems with them, meaning like it's not accessible. It's really hard. Like you can't see out the side of the car very well because of the way the windows are set up.
Yeah.
What was the idea? I don't get it.
I don't either. Like, did they try? It kind of looks like a DeLorean, right? But at least in the terms of
low
the
resolution.
color.
Yeah, I mean it has a the stainless steel body. So apparently the stainless steel body that these cars have is a fingerprint magnet, and I've seen lots of videos of people complaining like you just can't keep them clean.
Mhm.
And there's just weird things that they have, like the charger port is in a weird place, and there's a lot of stainless steel on it, but the guy was complaining that there's a lot of plastic on the car in places where it would have been nice if they used a better material. I mean, a car is very expensive, like I think you can't even start with one of those. You're in the high 70s, I think.
Oh, at least, right?
Yeah, they're expensive.
Yeah,
anyway,
it's a weird swing and a miss from Tesla. I like every other Tesla vehicle. They're actually, I think they're very sleek, modern looking. We own one. I love it. It's an amazing car. So this is just came out of nowhere. It's like, what the F is that?
It seems like so many of the things that Musk does are just weird trolling.
Yeah.
And
It definitely feels like somebody was trying way too hard. I'm not sure what they were trying to do, but whatever they were trying to do, they were trying way too hard.
I think this move could kill Tesla. He really squandered the lead time that he had. This is one of the first companies that really took the lithium-ion batteries and said we can make a car run on this shit. Mm-hmm. And they had a decent lead time, and now the other major car companies are catching up. And what he should have done is screw that truck. He should have focused on a cheap, affordable electric car, 25, 30, 35 grand, no more, to really pull in the masses. But now he's never going to get that because now there's so many high quality electric cars out there.
Although Tesla is saying that they're going to do that, like that's their next.
Saying that for years.
I know, but they're still saying it.
And if he didn't squander all this time and effort on the truck, he could probably be close to having a cheap one right now.
Yeah, right.
I'd buy a cheaper one.
Well, Bob, nothing was going to stop the other car companies from getting in on the market.
No, but now his sales are shit, and I read that his margins now are so thin that they're thinner than the industry standard now, that it's just like it's a downward spiral. It seems to me. I haven't done deep.
Although what's crazy is they reaffirmed that tens of billions of dollars package of his, right? That bonus package of his, just like 2 weeks ago or something, which is wild in considering what's been happening to Tesla recently. Yeah,
somebody in the chat said that Cybertrucks versus the Rivians are better, and I was reading the same thing. He definitely missed the mark on the Cybertruck, but I mean, look, this company has sold a ton of cars. They have a ton of orders. As long as they're making a positive.
Their orders are down, isn't it? I think I heard it.
Yeah, they are.
They're relatively, because a couple of things happened. First of all, Tesla early on captured a massive part of the market, and it was inevitable that their market share was going to shrink. Inevitable.
Sure.
They had a huge boom during COVID, and now they're sort of regressing to the mean. So those two reasons, it looks like there's a slowdown, but really things are just sort of settling into where they were.
Mhm.
The Tesla still is selling a ton of vehicles and has a massive share of the market, just not as big as when he was basically the only game in town.
There was no way he could have held on to that.
There's
No.
no way. But
Absolutely
the
no way.
overall EV market is growing. So he's having a smaller share of a bigger pie. It's still massive.
And you're right.
It's one miss is not going to kill Tesla.
No, for sure.
You know, they'll be fine.
Well, and they're more than just cars too, of course, right?
Yeah.
Because they've got a lot of stuff going on.
Mm-hmm. But the company that makes the batteries, many of which makes many of the batteries for Tesla and makes them for other ones, is actually Panasonic. And Panasonic is coming out with the silicon anode lithium-ion battery.
And what's that going to be like?
That's twice the energy density.
Whoa,
Yeah.
that is.
So
Bob,
Jay, it's the same
remarkable.
battery. That's
Say
the
it,
same.
Jay.
It's the same basic battery design that is already in production. That's going into some electric planes and whatnot. You know, the Amprius battery, but
So-
Panasonic is doing it too. Again, this idea is 10 years old. Amprius was just the first company to get a version of it to market, but now we're going to be seeing a bunch of companies. So we're basically the EV battery market is set to have a doubling of energy density.
So 600-mile range. 600
Well, not
plus.
necessarily.
Or half the range. It's the same range, but half the
Same
weight.
range. It'll be some combination of
It's a sweet spot.
increased range and decreased weight and decreased cost. And yeah, there'll be some sweet spot in there. And they're also making a lot of strides in getting rid of the cobalt and the nickel, which is a huge problem. The energy density isn't quite as much, but if you double the energy density because you do silicon anodes, then you could get rid of the cobalt and you'll still be at a higher energy density, but just not maximized energy density. So that may be ultimately where we wind up as well. No matter how you slice it, battery technology is still on a very steep curve.
Yeah.
And there's a few things in the works that's like in the pipeline, as we say, like not just theoretical, but it works. It's, you know,
It
the
scale. Yeah.
it scales. It's just a matter of, you know, when the factories start cranking them out. By the 2030s, we should have triple our current energy density. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Already, it's cheaper to own an EV than an equivalent ICE vehicle. And that is only going to get better as they get lighter because you have a greater energy density, you know, smaller battery, it's less weight you're dragging around, it's more efficiency.
They're too expensive right now. They're just too expensive.
They're
They're
nuts
not.
right now.
They're not too expensive. That's
Yeah.
wrong. They're cheaper to own than an equivalent.
Overall, though, once you
Yeah, but
factor
the
in all
initial
the gas and
investment is
everything, right?
crazy.
Yeah,
Especially
so
the non-Teslas, Jay. There's cheaper electrics out there.
it's
far
not crazy.
cheaper
You're
than any Tesla has.
thinking of 3 years ago when they jacked up prices to see how far they could jack them up, but they've already brought them way back down. They're almost in line out of the gate. And if you ask the question, what is the payback time, right? How long do I have to drive this electric vehicle before it starts to be less costly? It's only like a year or two, even for the ones that cost more up front. After a couple of years, you're saving money overall. And trust me, the other thing is
I think it
the
depends on the car you
the-
want.
Of course, it depends on the car. This is like, but like for a typical sedan or small sized like SUV or hybrid SUV, that's what I'm talking about. But also the no maintenance thing is massive. I don't think people underestimate
No, that's
how
true.
awesome it is to have zero maintenance. Like zero maintenance. I mean, basically every now and then you got to change your tires. That's it.
Yeah.
Do we know is the
Steve, are you
wait
telling
time?
me, Steve,
Yeah.
you telling me that there's an electric SUV class like my car, my Outback, my Subaru Outback. There's an EV class with that capacity that's like what, in the low 30s? Bullshit. I call bullshit on that.
I didn't say that. No, I didn't say that. That's it.
You said SUV. You said SUV.
Bob, I said you have to drive the car for a couple of years before you make up the difference in the cost.
They're just I didn't see any that were okay, fine, but I remember, I mean, this was 2 years ago.
It's only like a $5,000 differential when you do a one-to-one comparison. But it also, Bob, it also depends on what range you want. You know what I mean? Because you could say that same car probably comes in a 250 range version and a 350 range version. So basically tack on 10 grand if you want the 350 mile range version, right?
Mhm.
But so it depends. But most people don't need that. Most people will do just fine with 250. 300 is generous. Only if you live in, the wide open parts of the country, or you have a job where you have to drive long distance all the time. For 95% of the people, 99% of their driving, 250 mile range is fine.
Mhm.
It's just really the fear of range anxiety, the fear of the unknown that wants people to have ridiculous ranges on their vehicles, and that's where the big cost and big inefficiency comes in, because you want that 350 or 400 mile range. That's a bigger battery, especially for an SUV, which means you're dragging more weight around, which means you need an even bigger battery. It's a little bit like the rocket equation, where the bigger the battery, the more the more range you get, the bigger the battery you need to drag around the bigger battery, and you know what I mean. So, but it also works the other way. So if you say, all right, what do I really need? You really do a cost benefit analysis, and you realize for most of your driving, your 250 mile range is going to be perfectly fine.
What's the average distance driven per day?
It's like 30 miles. 30
Yeah,
miles. Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, and you can look at it a couple of ways. Average distance driven per day, it's like 30 miles. Or what percentage of trips are less than a certain number of miles, right? You could map
Like
that out.
99 or something.
Yeah,
right?
it is. Like you get in like between 95 and 99% are less than 100 miles or less than 150 miles. You start to creep up towards that 99%. So again, 250 covers like almost every trip. And the thing, if you're making a long trip, you plan it out. It's not hard. Again, the right now, like if you're along the East Coast or the West Coast, it's fine. It is fine. If you're in Wyoming, I get it. That may be a little bit early.
Yeah, sure.
There's, you might need a longer range vehicle or get a hybrid, where that might be the best option for the next few years.
And you have to be able to charge it at your home.
Until we build, 80% of people own their own parking space, and most of those are wired. So there's a lot of headroom of people who own their own parking space, who you don't need a car with a huge range, who can charge it at home. It's we shouldn't be judging the whole industry on the edge cases, on that 5% of people for whom it's not a great option, or 10% or whatever it is. And that percentage is shrinking as we build more charging stations and as batteries get lighter, cheaper, better, whatever. Yeah. So that's how you have to look at it. We're already at the point where for like at least 80% of people, it's definitely the cost-effective and convenience-effective option. And we'll worry about the other 20% in 5-10 years. It'll be a completely different industry at that point in time.
Do we know how long is the wait to get an EV these days? Because last time I looked at this seriously was a couple of years ago, and it was COVID supply
it's
chain
nothing.
stuff.
It's nothing. It's a different world. It's a different world than 2 years ago. 2 years ago there was chip delays, and
exactly.
Everything was delayed. Now
we're all caught up.
Because I've been looking at it just recently, because my daughter needs a car, and we're trying to figure out how we're gonna do this. I may get a new one myself and give her my old one or whatever. So I've been looking at is buying an EV now a good option, and the wait time is like a week, 6 weeks.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's like they're there. So it's not like 2 years ago it was like a year. The wait time,
right.
But it's not that. It's not the case.
Because we have a Prius that's about 10 years old, and have been thinking about changing it for a fully electric vehicle.
Yeah.
Prius has been great, but I mean, we live in LA. We just don't ever drive that far. So why not?
It's
like
a great
place to get one.
It's a good time to get EVs, because the market it went. They jacked up the prices. Now they've come, like as Bob said, the margins are like razor thin, and then it will settle in again. So we're right in a window where it's actually a really good time to get an EV.
You don't want a hybrid?
Hybrids are fine.
Sorry,
I know what you're trying to do, Ian.
That was just a setup. It's also a setup to a video that I saw on that app that shall not be named because they're going to ban it. But it's also on YouTube Shorts, which is a hybrid, but this is like a Chinese electric hybrid, which is kind of interesting. I'll also play it. Not that I'm saying you should buy it. Also, you can't because it's from China. But
yeah, that's
here
it.
we go.
Factory arm of BYD. You get LiDAR sensors here, more LiDAR up there. In the front, your main headlights are here, but at night, this entire thing lights up, and it looks amazing. You get one electric motor on each wheel, and combined, it makes 1,180 horsepower. So my charge port is here, and when I open it, this will tell me my charge level. But on this side, you put in gas. That powers your turbo 4-cylinder generator. This doesn't power the car, it just makes electricity for those motors. On a full charge and a full tank of gas, this can do over 600 miles. Inside, you get this panoramic roof that literally has shooting stars, and it can also do this. 你好，阳光。我在。开天窗。收到。Hey! You also get pillows in your headrest. My seats are heated, ventilated, and massaging. I get a passenger screen, ambient lighting underneath, more ambient lighting up here, and this curved display that works ultra fast. You also get a front and rear locker, 50-watt charging pads, a built-in cooler, storage space under here, and what's this? It also has hydraulic suspension and can float in water.
TikTok was pushing this. I was like, okay, TikTok, you want me to move to China? That's fine. But it's pretty neat. Some cars out there that are pretty wild.
The amenities, man. Like I hadn't bought a car in a long time, and when my wife and I got a new car a year and a half ago, I was blown away by what the car could do.
Oh, I think to me the biggest innovation compared to the last time I got a car was the backup camera. I mean, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like what a game changer having that thing.
Totally.
That's like crack. That's like the best.
I can't imagine driving without it now.
My car tells me like 360 degrees around the car, lets me know where other cars are.
Yeah.
So if I have my left blinker on and I want to move into the left lane, like the car actually will say it's okay to go or not to go by either vibrating or making a noise. And it's so helpful because there are times when
that's cool.
It tells you if there's a car in your blind spot.
Definitely.
It makes me think that I'm kind of shocked that I haven't, and people I know haven't had more accidents because of blind spots. Because it's the car in your blind spot is like invisible. You really got to look. I'm just surprised it's not more of a thing in terms of like, I got into an accident because some guy was in my blind spot. I've had close calls, but never actually hit anybody. And it's just surprising because
and also
happen more often.
I mean, people our age and older, you guys are slightly older than I am, thinking about what driving was like when we were kids. I never put a seatbelt on until I was like a teenager. It just was not a thing.
Yeah, I got the best.
What is it?
My parents, the armrest in between the driver and the passenger seat, I used to sit on that armrest. I would sit on that. That's like
I kind of did that.
Bob,
too.
there
was zero driving safety when we were kids.
I have a memory for Bob. So Bob and I, Steve, you were probably there too, but I definitely remember Bob being there. Our friend Jim, his dad was driving us to go see Enter the Dragon when it was in the theaters. We were in the back of a pickup truck, and I remember there was a rust hole through the bed of the truck, and I could see the road.
And open. I mean, there was a cover over it, but there was no seats or belts or anything.
No, we were in the back of back there,
rattling around the back of a pickup truck, and we had the station wagon with the seats facing each other in the way back.
Oh yeah,
so it was just 4 or 5 kids in the back of that station wagon, and it was chaos.
We had a van with like a lay flat bench that my sister and I would just fall asleep. We'd do these, hours, days long road trips. We'd just be sleeping, going like 80 down the highway.
My grandmother had the bench seats too. That was wild.
That was awesome.
Wild
Sleeping
days.
on that. I mean, it's like the best sleep I've ever had in my life. Because you're a kid, your parents are right there. The road is kind of bumping around. Yeah. I was just thinking about this because as you said before, Jay, I just got off a 6-week tour, and we're on a tour bus and sleeping on the tour bus, and you're just in these little like coffin-like bunks. And you're going, God knows how fast, the middle of the night, because the bus typically drives at night. And if something really goes wrong, you're just hosed. It's very easy to get injured sleeping on a tour bus because we're just laying there unrestrained.
You sleep, Brian, feet forward or head forward?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
You learn very, very early on. Feet forward always, because you don't want to get some kind of, you don't
want to hit the head
injury because of that. Because and sometimes you wake up in the middle of the night, like let's say you're driving through the Rockies and you're at some weird, crazy angle and you briefly go into panic mode and then you fall back asleep. So it takes a few days of adjusting so that you don't think about exactly what is happening to you while you're driving.
Yeah.
Why don't they offer 4-point seatbelts, 4-point restraints in cars? I guess they'd have to redesign. They'd have to redesign the car to have the.
How would that work?
Like a spacecraft? Like
Yeah.
what the astronauts wear?
Pull it over you, and then like a
Oh, like a roller
racing
coaster.
car. I mean, and I'm not even sure. I know it would be safer, but how much safer would a 4-point or 5-point?
5-point, yeah. 5 points like a kid's car seat. Those are
Yeah, but
5
when
points.
you're
that's-
laying down, how would that even work? To
Yeah, how would you
actually-
sleep?
You'd have to be
Laying
like
down is- yeah,
plastered on
that's a
there,
whole
right?
Other
Yeah.
problem, but I'm just talking for a regular car.
Or you could wear like a sleep gown that has Velcro just on the bottom. You know.
Yeah, just a zip up hammock, and you just swing around. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
You'll be a cocoon. But people were saying in the chat that gas is very inefficient. Have you guys seen Rolls-Royce's little micro reactor?
No, what is it? What's going on?
That
Yeah, I've
they're,
heard of this.
starting to build. I don't think it's for cars actually, but the applications are like defense, of course. These little micro reactors,
Yeah, so
remote civil power.
What is it, fission?
Oh,
I guess that's the question. I mean,
I don't think it's fission. What? Yeah, right there. That's the key right there. That little paragraph.
Go ahead, Bob. You want to read? Can you read it? Or do you want me to read it? Whilst microreactors and small modular reactors both use nuclear technology, or I should say nuclear, and are part of the Rolls-Royce nuclear portfolio, they use different technologies and would be used to power different things. Okay. For example, a microreactor can provide 1 to 10 megawatts of power, and its more compact size is transportable, source of power, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't say fusion or fission.
It's got to be fission.
It's got to be fission.
Yeah.
Nice. That's a
Yeah.
small nuclear reactor. Wow.
Well, I mean, we've been doing this on subs for 50 years, right? I mean, this is not a new idea. That size and power of reactor. That's like our whole naval fleet runs on that now.
they're probably $1 million though, guys.
There's no add to cart button though, so I don't know if that's.
The problem with these small reactors, though, is that when they've tried to build them, I think it's more of the small modular reactors, the ones that are beefier than this micro reactor. What the problem is that they cost a lot more than they anticipated, and the startup costs to build it are almost as big as for a regular nuclear reactor, a full size. So for a little bit more money, you could have created a full size nuclear.
But that is a temporary situation.
It is temporary, but
that's because these are new.
With it, though.
They're reinventing the wheel every time. But the whole idea is that once they settle on a design of a small modular reactor, then they'll get approval for that design, and then they'll build that exact design over and over again. It'll be a lot cheaper, a lot faster.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys hear? We probably talk about this on the show next week, but the Senate and House just passed a bill that Biden's almost certain to sign that provides a lot more funding for nuclear reactors in the U.S.
Finally.
and streamlines the approval process and gives an incentive to build them on the sites of decommissioned coal plants.
That's
awesome. Yeah, so it's like the whole idea is you shut down that coal plant, we'll build a nuclear power plant there, a small modular reactor, we'll use the same connections to the grid, and we're off and running.
Wow.
Amazing.
Yeah.
But it takes 10 years to build a reactor, doesn't it?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. That's with all the bureaucracy. The whole point is to get that down to 3 to 5 years.
Oh, that's totally different.
In China and South Korea, they could build a reactor in 5 years. Right?
Yeah.
It's not that we can't physically do it. It's the regulatory process.
Yes.
They also increased funding for the Nuclear Regulatory Agency because that's often the bottleneck. It's like, all right, we'll take a look at your application in 18 months, and that's just 18 months pissed away where they can't break ground because they can't invest that money until they know they got clearance to go forward. So this is clearing up a bottleneck bureaucratically and providing funding for exactly what we need, which is replacing coal with nuclear.
Yeah.
Although I'm curious how this Supreme Court decision that came out today, the Chevron doctrine stuff, affects this at all.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right? I mean, maybe it will, maybe it won't. I don't know enough to say. But have they taken a significant amount of power away from the regulators?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right. I don't know.
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah.
it's away from the regulators. So like that would only serve to speed up industry, of course, at the expense of, regulations and safety and the environment and things like that.
Right.
So yeah, it seems like a very dangerous ruling to me, but Congress is probably going to need to do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
We know how well-oiled the machine that are.
Oh yeah, they move so
Congress is.
quickly, and
Yeah.
and they're just falling over each other to agree. Let's not slide into politics unless you want to slide into politics.
Jay's excited.
Jay wants to talk about the debate last night.
Nobody wants to talk about that.
It didn't happen.
It never happened.
It was a bad nightmare.
Yeah, it was bad.
It was like the Highlander sequel. Didn't happen.
Yeah, we're kind of fucked.
Yeah.
Kinda is the operative word.
We always were.
It's
Okay.
all coming out now.
Lock it happen. Lock it happen
now.
between
Lock
now
it
and
happen.
November.
That's true.
It's a lot of time between now and then. Don't worry.
So do you guys know anything about cold reading?
Yes.
Cold reading. I've heard about
a
that.
bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Are
know
you
a little bit
familiar
about
with a
that.
gentleman named Orson Welles? That's not what it
Yes.
sounded like, but I just feel like that.
I recognize him.
So he did. I don't know if you've ever seen this video. People posted it on our
I emailed it to
Reddit.
you.
Oh, is this from?
Oh.
No, this isn't from F for Fake, is it? No.
I don't think so. It's like
Okay,
it's
good.
on a talk show, but he's talking about cold reading, and people sent it in, and they were like, "Hey, check this out." Let's see it. Let's check it out.
I'm a magician, and I got interested in mind reading and fortune telling, fake fortune telling, and I got to know a lot of old fakes who had retired as millionaires, and they told me their secrets, how you do it. There are things that are called cold readings.
Oh, what's that?
A cold reading is you warm up the sucker by telling him things that he says, how could he ever know that, you see? You say, between the ages of 13 and 15, you had a great change came in your life. But that happens in everybody's life. But he says, he came in and told me things I already see. You've got a scar on your knee. Everybody fell down and has a scar on their knee. Those are cold readings, you see?
I have a scar on my neck.
Sure
How
you
did
do.
you know that?
Yeah, you see? Just something bigger than myself. Well, now, the point about this is that after they're warmed up, they're amazed by this knee bit and the rest of it, they start telling you. Because you just say, is it it? And you see from their face it is or it isn't. And then you tell it back and they say, how did he do it, you see? So I was bored. I was playing in Kansas City with Catherine Cornell one time, and we didn't have any matinee on Wednesday, so I hired a room and put Dr. Swami fortune telling, $2 readings. And for the whole day they came in, and each one, because I felt guilty about it at the end, I said, I'm not going to take your money. Because I couldn't have really taken. For a whole day, I was a fortune teller, faking. But then there began to happen to me the thing that does happen to fortune tellers, and which is the occupational disease of fraudulent fortune tellers. And they have a name for it. It's called becoming a shut-eye. And a shut-eye in the argot of these crooks is the fellow who begins to believe himself.
Yeah.
You see, and you make these wild guesses. One of them explained to me, he says, supposing you're a night clerk in a hotel, and when you get the job, first of all, a fellow comes in, wants a single room, you look at how good his luggage is, how good are his shoes, and you tell him there's a room in the court, there's no room, or yes, sir, depending on various pieces of evidence. He says, you've been a night clerk long enough, you glance, and you tell him. You've been a night clerk a little longer, and you don't have to look. You've seen it, but the computer in here has made all of those deductions without your being conscious of it. So the mind reader gets so that he, without thinking, does that, and then they say it's true. And a woman came in to me at the end of my career as a fraudulent fortune teller in a bright print dress, and sat down looking perfectly all right, and I said, you've lost your husband last week. And she burst into tears. She had. And then I quit.
That was terrible.
Yes, it's one of those things. Undoubtedly, it's not psychic. Undoubtedly, there was evidence of a tragedy. There was all kinds of things that went into the computer and got processed without me crookedly thinking what I'm going to say to her. And that's how it works, I think.
That's fascinating.
Isn't it
And
funny?
you get sort of 5 spooky premonitions a
Like
year.
that, and then, yes, I do. And I'm sure they're all spooky like that in some kind of funny way. I suppose I looked at Una and said, she's just, Una is exactly the girl that would be happy with Charlie, I suppose. And instead of thinking, maybe you'll meet him, what did I lose? I said, you're going to marry him. And she did.
I love that guy.
That rules.
That was great. I mean, it goes to show you that what we're doing today is the same shit that's been
Same
happening.
shit. Yeah.
Hundreds of years. I remember reading an article about a book that was published in like 1850, and the book is an entire book debunking magnet-based fake health products, right? And it was all the same shit we have out now that they had to debunk in 1850.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, Steve, humans are predictable in their response to certain behaviors. You know what I mean? I mean, we're seeing it happen right now, as a matter of fact. The bottom line is that everything that he said was true.
Yeah. Very insightful. Although I've never heard that term "shut eye." Have you guys ever heard that?
No, I have not heard it.
That's interesting. What if that's still
Is that like a common, like the inevitability that somebody who engages?
I've heard that concept before from multiple skeptics who are experts in cold reading and psychics and whatnot. They say, that clearly they often come to believe their own bullshit because they get so much positive feedback. They think, oh, I must really have some power, whatever that power is. And so it's not, I'm not surprised that, Orson Welles encountered the same thing, however long ago that was, 50, 60, 70 years ago.
If you guys like that, I really recommend F for Fake, which is a Orson Welles. He calls it it's a film, but he calls it like a video essay on forgers and forgeries and frauds and things like that. It's really, really great. And
it's by Orson Welles.
Yeah. It's like a later career thing for him. I forget exactly when it's from. It might be the 70s. And it's really wonderful. And it's that era. Orson Welles, who sounds like a guy doing an Orson Welles impression.
It's almost a little bit too Orson Welles.
Yeah, this is the one. Yep.
Yeah.
It's so worth seeing. Yeah.
Just his face.
He's such a cool guy.
Yeah.
What a voice. And also that I love that that set that they were just on.
Oh, I know.
1970 or 60s or 70s. Felt 70s, right?
Yeah, for sure.
David Frost set. Yeah.
Although whenever I see his face, I can't help but think of the commercial.
Yes.
The wine. It's so bad, but it's very funny.
Hey, sometimes you got to do something to make the money,
Well, that's true. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. Paul Merson would enjoy it.
What are you guys doing this weekend?
Let's see.
My 10-year-old has a piano recital.
Ooh.
So that's very exciting.
That's fun.
What's she playing?
Some little blues piece,
Cool.
blues in G. Some little piece
good.
she's been working on. And that's, as a musician, it's always exciting to me when my kid is doing music stuff. And also I think a lot about, inculcating good habits and work ethic and practice and things like that. There's a common thing I think a lot about with her is for a classical musician, like a pro classical musician, the amount of time they have to spend practicing per day is astonishing. And learning to practice, you're spending whatever hours and hours a day just doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. It's interesting psychologically to me. Like, how do you do it?
I've had many patients who are musicians because at Yale, like the musicians at the Yale Rep.
Yeah.
And a lot of violinists and guitarists come in with carpal tunnel syndrome. And they tell me, I practice 10 hours a day, 8 hours a day, every day. It's like, well, there's no fix for that. You know what I mean? We could do what we can, but like,
there's a good fix. The surgery works.
Well, it sort of works, but
there's also a constellation of things that are like that, which are not surgically fixable. Sorry.
Yeah. But I'm saying, if you do the carpal tunnel release surgery, they'll get it back eventually if they go back to doing what they were doing, which caused the problem in the first place. It's kind of a career ender, you know.
Oh boy.
I had another patient who was an artistic painter, but did big paintings, right? Like that was her genre. It was like massive paintings. So she did this maneuver for hours and hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so normally, like, my advice is, like, when I identify the repetitive motion injury, it's like, don't do that. Right. That's the only thing that really works. You know, it hurts when I do this. Don't do that. That's the only thing, right? You can mitigate it, but you know, really getting better entails like avoiding activity which exacerbates your symptoms.
Yeah.
But if it's your career, it's like, you know.
But what's wild about so many of those things is these, you know, minute kind of ergonomic changes can often make a huge difference.
Yes.
Right. You like change your grip a little bit.
Do
right?
ergonomics. You do take breaks. Don't work through the pain. Switch off if you can. You know, whatever. Like I have a lot of chefs. Chefs are huge.
Yeah.
Sure.
You know, because most chefs are not like running a kitchen. They're chopping vegetables 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's just a repetitive motion. Letter carriers, you know.
Yep.
Do you recommend that they drink a lot, Steve?
Generally, no.
Well, Steve, you're coming over to my house to help
to
create
drink
a
a lot?
garden tomorrow, correct?
We're going to build a garden at Jay's house tomorrow.
Oh, that's cool. Like
wow.
frames,
a
kind of
box garden. Yeah, raised bed box garden. Yeah.
That's cool. You gonna put a thing like a net over? How are you gonna protect it from the squirrels?
We haven't gotten that far yet.
Oh, well,
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be raised like a few feet off the ground. I think it's 3 feet high.
Oh.
So there's a little bit of protection built in there. And then, you know, Jay will have to decide if he wants to put a little bit of additional fencing around it. But
sure.
So you could see what happens. But it is, do you get deer in your property?
I don't see them on my property, but they're here.
Yeah, the deer is like, for me, that was the big thing.
Know?
Like for the first few years that I tried to grow a garden in my backyard, it would be fine. Like I had like the small fence around the garden, like the 3-foot fence, you know, like around the garden. And it would be great. And then one day the entire garden would be wiped out. You know, just everything like that. And you can see it's all being bitten from the top down, you know, just a deer would come through and just completely, somebody laid out this nice buffet salad for me, you know, just wipe out my garden. They would do the same thing to our daylilies. So I had to get a 5-foot fence. You know, I had to get a deer-proof fence. There's no point in planting anything there.
Do you have a specific thing you're going to plant this weekend? Like, do you know what you're planting?
Jay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tomatoes.
We got you some flowers and tomatoes and cucumbers.
Yeah, we want to do all the basics like that. I mean, I've been wanting to grow full-size watermelons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
They're hard to grow.
I thought you said pumpkins.
Yeah, and of course I'd like to do pumpkins. I'm thinking about pumpkins because they're, you know, they tend to spread and all that stuff, and I want to learn more about them.
So we grow pumpkins and watermelons every year. The thing about them is that they're fun to grow. The plants get huge. It's nice to get a nice little pumpkin. But if you want to grow a big one, that's a lot of care.
Field, right?
Yeah. How long does it take to get a reasonably sized pumpkin? What's the time scale for?
Well, usually you harvest them in early October, right?
Yeah.
So it's May or June to October is the grow time, but they just take a massive amount of water. You have to be out there watering them all the time.
Totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Especially the gargantuan ones. It's ridiculous how much weight they could gain even in a day.
And then it's also like the soil's got to be optimal. You got to be really fertilizing it. You kind of got to know what you're doing. But if you just want like something like this big, that's just fun size pumpkin to grow.
Board thing,
say that we grew this in our garden. You just got to take reasonable care of it. You don't have to obsess over it. But the big ones, you got to really obsess over them.
Mm-hmm.
Those I started growing my watermelons out of big pots rather than in the garden itself.
Is that better?
Well, it's just safer. I get to keep it away from everything else, so just less predation, and it's also has its dedicated soil. I can also control its watering, because the thing is, you don't want to mix plants together that have different water requirements, right? Because some plants need more water like tomatoes, some need a little bit less, like cucumbers. If you put them in the same planter,
Mm.
then like you'll get root rot on one, or the other ones won't get enough. If you don't give tomatoes enough water, the skin splits when it grows.
Something I've been curious about a long time here in LA is, there's citrus trees everywhere, right?
Mm.
How concerned should someone be about, LA is a pretty polluted major city. How concerned, if at all, should we be about just plucking citrus off a tree and eating it because of local pollutants?
I've never read anything about that, to be honest with you. I don't know that I've never seen it raised as a concern.
Yeah, me neither. But it seems like,
it's an interesting idea. But everything gets processed through the soil and through. I mean, so maybe it doesn't make it into the fruit. I don't know.
Certainly, people, no one seems to really care, and we eat lemons off a lemon tree or whatever all the time. It doesn't seem to be a big deal. But I mean, it couldn't be that hard just to pluck a couple lemons and run some samples and see what it is.
Yeah, I imagine it would be more from stuff in the soil than in the air.
Yes, I would think so too.
Yeah. I don't know.
This weekend, I'm creating a tombstone with my name on it for my birthday party.
Oh,
so trying to think of something interesting and funny to put on the tombstone.
Here lies Bob.
Well, no.
You do a haunted house.
Well,
I mean, with some follow through, you got to do like a haunted house themed tombstone. Like here lies Bob, and then a funny.
I came up with a good one.
Yeah.
And he doesn't like it. I said, here lies an atheist all dressed up and nowhere to go.
The way I do the lettering, I would never want to do that much lettering.
Too much lettering, yeah.
Too much.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
I'm very happy that B.O.B. and that's it. Not even Bob Novell. And then,
that's pretty good.
And I could have like my birth year and then maybe
B.O.B.D.O.A.
DOA.
What's that?
Dead
on arrival.
I was thinking HDU, like 1963 to HDU, Heat Death of the Universe. But,
that's a good joke because you had to explain it.
Right. Common acronym.
I wouldn't want to spell out Heat Death of the Universe, but if I did and somebody knew what it was, I'd be very, very psyched. But,
and if they don't know, Bob gets to explain it to them. So it's a win-win.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Except that's too many letters. I'm not carving that many letters.
Wait, so what's your letter limit? How many do you want total-ish?
3.
Well, typically, the tombstones I've done, it had a name, first and a last name, typically short names, and then the year they were born and died. I don't get too elaborate in terms of like doing the card, the letters. But it's more about the look. It's not really about what it says. It's more about the look of the tombstone. I mean, I've showed them on here on the screen.
They're like the ones you brought to Nauticon, right?
Yeah, there you go. There you go. It's a fun process, but I'm trying to think of something goofy to do with it. Maybe I'll just make it, Bob, then some dates, and maybe I'll do I could put something cool and creepy on it as like a decoration or something, or whatever. I'll figure something out.
What about a set of dates? It's like I'm going to make up some numbers: 1950 to 2024, 2026 through something else.
Yeah, something like that. That could be fun. Or I was just thinking, having the end date be like 200 years in the future. That'd be fun.
Well, you could do your human lifespan, then your zombie lifespan underneath it.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, or Bob, one set of dates, Bob 2.0, another set.
Yeah.
Cyber Bob, yeah.
There you go, Bob. It's free. That's for free. That's 6 letters. That's all you need.
That's all you need, Bob.
Nice.
That's
I like
great.
it.
Yeah.
Brian, what's next for the band?
Well, it depends which band. So for Ninja Sex Party, so for those of you who don't know, watching, I'm in a comedy band called Ninja Sex Party. I play in Ninja. And this is our 15th anniversary.
Wow, it's been 15 years. Oh my God.
Started in 2009. And so we are doing a big online concert to celebrate our 15th. So we're just in the middle of organizing that right now. So that's going to come out at the end of August. And what else? I could go through projects endlessly, but my other bigger band, Starbomb, which is a hip hop comedy band, we have our 4th album. We do an album every like 5 years or something now. That's coming out later this year. So we're in the middle of getting stuff ready for that.
That's fun.
But yeah, it's really fun. At this point in my career, it's like we finish these projects a year before they come out. And then in the interim, just start on
the next thing. Yeah.
On something else. The fun news recently actually is my kid band, Go Banana Go, has a little minor radio hit going on kids radio on Sirius XM.
Which one is it?
It is not Pizza Feet. The song is called "I Found a Cool Rock," and they've been playing it like nonstop on this thing. So we have getting a little radio play,
that's awesome, man.
Which is cool. Yeah, like none of my other bands ever get played on the radio. So having a little radio play is actually really cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Brian, what do you know about the true history of ninjas?
Oh.
Well, I've read the Real Ultimate Power website quite extensively back in the day, which is pretty accurate, I think. But other than that, not a lot. I made a choice at some point to not know what I'm talking about with ninjas because I felt like it might dilute the comedy.
Yeah.
So I don't actually know anything about them for real.
Yeah. Would you like to?
Steve, I'd like to.
That's it. All right. Go ahead, Steve.
Well, it's obviously everything you think you know about ninjas is wrong, right? Because it's all a romanticized mythology. It's actually most of it was written probably a couple hundred years after the peak of ninjas, and it itself like from the 1600s we have romantic mythological writings about ninjas from the 1400s, right? And that's kind of what survives to today. But they were basically spies, that worked for the daimyo, and they didn't wear all black. They didn't throw, shurikens or whatever. We just don't know much about them because for real, because you don't write a lot of stories about your secret spies, right? I mean, they're secretive, and so all we have is this later romanticization of them. We don't have any real information. So historians kind of have a couple of hypotheses. Like there was this village that kind of might have been the origin of the ninjas that were they were commoners who fought with basically whatever weapons of convenience they can get their hands on. They didn't have samurai swords, right? So they had to use whatever they could, knives and so it's interesting, but it's not. The only thing we can say for sure is that it is not what you think they were.
Yeah.
Steve, could they walk on water? Yes or no?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah. No.
My kid, my 10-year-old, said something about this, which I thought was so smart and funny the other day. We were driving in the car, and she goes, "Daddy, what if every country in the world has ninjas, but we only know about the Japanese ones because they're the worst. And they got caught."
I love that logic. Yeah.
I thought this is brilliant.
Yeah.
You think of these Japanese ninjas, these masterful, secretive assassins.
If they were really good, we wouldn't know about it.
And what if every country has its own ninjas and everybody knows that the Japanese ones are just the worst because they're the ones we actually know about.
That got caught up into popular
I thought
culture.
it was such a funny kid.
In a way we do. They're called spies, right? I mean,
right.
Steve, did ninjas have katanas?
No.
Did ninjas have the split toe shoe? You know what I mean?
I don't know.
I had to wear one actually for my ninja costume. Normally I wear brown Merrill hiking boots because I tried to wear those split toe shoes once and they were awful.
They're awful.
Mm-hmm.
Truly awful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Jay, we bought ninja outfits.
Yeah, I had them. I had one.
You, me, and Jim Duffy.
Yep.
Do you remember going out like late at night and just like walking down the road
in
a costume?
Yeah.
Being goofy young punks?
Yeah, it was fun.
Oh my God, Jay. That's hilarious. It was a full-on, it was a split toe feet. It was the full-on outfit.
It was the
holy crap.
And we had the wooden katanas as well, which was really fun.
Wow.
Yeah, we had a good childhood.
No, I know someone said in the chat that they did have katanas, but I don't think they did. I'm pretty sure that Katanas were massively expensive, and they were the weapon of warriors. The ninjas were not warriors. If you want to be a spy, you're not going to be walking around with a warrior's blade, a huge warrior's blade. That's not what you're going to do.
So it looks like it was just common streetwear. It wasn't specifically to ninjas. It's like here's a guy, a fisherman, and like farm workers were wearing the jikatabi.
ChatGPT says that they did use katana swords.
It's got to be true.
There you go.
I doubt it.
Trust the computers.
That's kind of in the lore, but it doesn't make sense with what we think we know about them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Has anybody discovered Skippy peanut butter bites?
Oh my God, Bob, are they awesome?
Bob.
Crack. It's goddamn crack. This shit I can't
Show me
stop
one.
eating.
Let's see what it
Skippy
looks like.
peanut butter is so bad, though. Do you like Skippy peanut butter? I'm sorry. Is that contentious?
No. Skippy's fine. I mean, but
It's so sugary.
Yeah.
I don't know.
This is a guy that'll reheat coffee that was brewed 5 hours ago.
All right, fine.
sometimes, not that often. So it's basically this is the peanut butter on the outside with the peanut butter on the inside, but they've got pretzels on the inside, graham crackers on the inside. They're all great. It's just like, oh my God. Highly recommended. I'm not getting reimbursed.
What's your promo code? Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
Well, here's the question. With peanut butter, if you're combining peanut butter with ice cream, chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
See, I disagree with this.
I've never had vanilla.
Vanilla with peanut butter is awesome. Actually, I used to be chocolate all the way.
It's great too. It's really good too. I'll eat both, but if I have one way, I typically will go with chocolate.
I've never had it with vanilla. Now I have to go do this tonight.
It's great. Yeah, I really like it. But I used to consider vanilla and peanut butter like heresy. Like would never do it as a kid. And then I forget where I had it once, and it was like, oh, I guess this is the move now.
You know what I'm?
Wait, hang on.
Well,
I'm being called out on the katana thing, and I have to strenuously disagree. The word katana literally means single-edged. It referred to specifically a subset of swords that were single-edged and curved and of a certain size. It does not refer to every sword. And there were different names for different kinds of swords. There's an O katana, which is actually a longer sword than the katana. It was used by infantry to fight people on horseback, and you did more reach, for example. But anyway, I don't think it's just an absolutely generic term for sword. It literally means single edge, and it refers to every reference that I have seen says it references a specific subset of swords. Not necessarily one very, very specific sword, but it's definitely a curved single edged sword of a certain length.
And that is the thing that's in the background here. Is that right, Steve?
That is a katana. Yes, that fits within the definition.
All right. So what's the difference between a samurai sword and a katana?
They're the same thing.
Okay.
The samurai they usually had two swords on them. The katana, and then I always get this name wrong, a wakasaki or something. Basically a shorter version of it, which for indoor fighting, basically.
Yeah, you're right.
If you're in close quarters. Wakazashi. I always get that wrong for some reason. So if you get in close quarters, the katana was too long. You need something a little bit shorter. Then they had the tanto, which is like a dagger length version of it.
Isn't that
which
the
I
one
also have in the back there somewhere?
Which one would they use to commit suicide?
They would probably use the tanto because that's really short.
Katana, you'd need to have pretty long arms. I would.
Yeah, you would not use the full length katana.
I saw an interesting video of people. There's a lot of people out there that train with the katana. They try to get good at it, and they showed, they have like these bamboo posts that are tied to each other, and they have this rope on them. And then you see like a non-expert or someone that's only been practicing like 5 years, and someone that's been practicing 10 years. And they go up and they do the move and they try to cut through them. And the guy that was like okay at it had been practicing for 7 years, and he got through like a third of it. And then they bring the master in, and the guy's like, whoosh, and just eviscerates these. It was unreal. Like it's all technique, right? The technique was like, And the thing is, you have to freaking be practicing for a decade. You know what I mean? You have to like be all in on using this sword as your number one thing in order to be able to do that. But those katanas can be remarkably deadly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is all technique, absolutely. And Grimbeard's right. I mean, when I said, like, you asked what's the difference between a samurai sword and katana, the samurai sword is a katana, but not all katana were used by samurai, right? They're not equivalent in that way. Again, they were soldiers used them, right? You had 1,000 Japanese soldiers. They all have katana. They're all fighting with those swords.
It's very cool. I mean, have you been watching
Shogun?
Oh, is it good?
It's
very
good,
good.
Brad.
Excellent.
The reboot is very good.
100% watch it. It's very.
Oh yeah,
very good.
it's a must without a doubt.
That and also must see Blue Eye Samurai.
Oh yeah,
Blue Eyed Samurai is awesome.
I've heard that's great. Yeah,
it's really good, Brad.
It's a masterpiece, in my opinion. It's a friggin' masterpiece.
Mm-hmm.
Someone says European swords were stronger. I don't know where you get that. I don't know that that's true. I'm going to have to specifically look that up. My understanding is, again, from reading multiple sources, that the Japanese would fold the steel over and over and over again. So when you're, before we had industrialized steel, right? You would make steel from iron by mixing it with some carbon content, ash or something. And then you would, fold it over, pound it out, fold it over again, pound it out. And every time you did that, you distribute the carbon source more evenly throughout the steel, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the idea was to break up the pieces to as small as possible, and so that it was evenly distributed, because you didn't want any
clump,
any big chunk of it, because then that creates a weak spot in the steel, and that's where the sword's going to break, right, when you hit it against another sword. So the Japanese were sort of famous for having that very, very high quality steel because they folded it so many times. But of course, the Greeks also had awesome steel, and there were absolutely European steels that were extremely high quality. I've never heard a direct comparison that said, but first of all, saying Europe is a pretty big time frame and area, like where, when in Europe. I don't think you could paint with one broad brushstroke. But what's interesting is the sword quality is largely about metallurgy, right? Like every movie you've ever seen that included any kind of sword making is wrong, right? They always completely misrepresent what's going on.
Even Conan,
especially Conan, it was terrible. Actually, the Blue Eyed Samurai was one of the closest ones in terms of the quality. The actual forging in it was pretty realistic.
Their accuracy and everything.
Their accuracy was higher than most. Every video game I've ever played, every movie I've ever seen, every TV show I've ever seen, they always get it wrong. And they always focus on, like, you're going to forge a better sword. Like, the forging technique is going to make the sword better. It's like, it's all metallurgy. It's metallurgy, and then it's everything you do after the forging, right? Rough forging out a sword is not the hard part. It's not where all the skill comes in. It's not where you're going to have a differential, really. So, but what Damascus, like Greek Damascus steel, is also like super high quality steel. In fact, we just figured out like a couple of years ago they got
why it's so good.
Why it was so good, right? Yeah, they were able to reproduce it. But of course, modern alloys just blow away anything in the ancient world, or medieval world, because we have modern industrial techniques. There's no imperfections, like there's no impurities in it. Right.
All right, guys. Anyway. So it's 6:05.
Yeah.
My kids are waiting for me to take them out tonight for dinner and a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Where you going? What are you eating?
What movie?
Oh,
what movie?
Inside Out?
We saw that a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, same.
It was cute. It was cute. It was good. It was good.
Not bad. Not great.
Yeah, it didn't. Yeah, it wasn't like, oh my God. What's funny, as an adult watching the movie, I'm looking at it, I'm like, you know what? This movie does not have a lot of the adult layer to it. There wasn't like a lot of that. You know how like a good kids movie has an adult layer that you could enjoy as an adult. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Not there. But it was good. I don't know what we're going to take them to tonight.
We on our end, we have started watching Doctor Who with Audrey.
Oh,
what season?
Well, so we started with the newest one.
The newest one, okay.
And I love the new guy.
He's very good.
He's,
he does doing a great job. I agree.
The end. Did you watch the whole season,
Yep.
Steve?
Yep.
I thought the end wasn't great, but leading up to that, I really liked what was going on. I thought the last 2 episodes not awesome.
Well, I thought the first 2 episodes were a little weird.
Mm-hmm.
Then the middle
space
of
babies.
the middle, then the musical episodes always risky.
Yeah.
And then the middle of the season was great. I thought the ending was fine. I thought it was fine. It wasn't as solid as we've had in previous seasons, but the trick with playing the Doctor is you need an actor who can have that sweet spot of whimsical and serious.
Yes.
And I think he pretty much nails it.
I agree.
I think Tennant nailed it. He's still my favorite Doctor. Yeah. Some of the other ones didn't. They were a little bit too silly, or they didn't have the gravitas when they got serious. Whatever. You got to be able to dial up and down that mood. To incorporate a lot of aspects of the Doctor to really be perfect. But
what I've found with Audrey is I've showed her a bit of all of everyone from Eccleston, actually from McGann on. We showed her that McGann short that they did before the 50th anniversary one.
Yeah.
I love Paul McGann as the Doctor. I think he's great.
Oh, yeah.
I wish he had more of a chance. But the one she really responds to is the 11th Doctor, Matt Smith.
Matt Smith is great.
I love him. He's so great. But she is like every night, it's like, Daddy, can we watch more Doctor Who? She is so into it in a way that she hasn't been into something in a long time.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, we watched Doctor Who with my daughters all the way through. From the modern, from 10 on. And it's a good family show. And some of the episodes, some of the sequences, are epic. Then there's interspersed with absolute campy clunkers.
The lows are pretty low.
The lows are pretty low, but even then, it's could still be charming. But it's like that was pretty terrible. But there are some epic episodes.
When it like that 50th anniversary one, the Day of the Doctor is
the Day of the Doctor
awesome. I love that episode.
Yeah.
But it's
which one? Which episode?
That's the one with David Tennant, Matt Smith, and John Hurt.
Oh yeah.
It's so great. I love John Hurt. Anything John Hurt does is the best. But it's I've been curious if she would respond to it, and she really, really has. But the other thing with Doctor Who is you can't expect anything to ever make any sense. Mm-hmm. And so you have to completely turn off any kind of analytical part of your brain because they're just like everything is just kind of, you don't think too hard about it.
It's campy science fiction. It's like that's the genre practically. So it's not supposed to make too much sense.
No, and it's a kid's show kind of at heart.
Yeah, I agree. But some episodes, like have you seen the Weeping Angel episode?
We just showed her Blink.
But
not the other ones. So great.
So good. Sally Sparrow is awesome. I love that actress. She's awesome.
Yes.
The Tenant is a great couple of episodes.
Yep, we haven't done that one yet. We did the Girl in the Fireplace.
Mm-hmm. That's
a really good one.
That's a good one. The ending totally gets you on that one. The one with Vincent Van Gogh
we showed her that too.
Masterpiece.
Yep.
The whole Centaurian sequence of episodes was very good.
Yeah.
I think the Amy Rory. That combination was the best. The sidekicks.
But I'm such a fan of Shudigatwa. Like I think he's been really just the moment
great.
He showed up on screen, it's like, oh, this guy's rad.
He's got charisma.
Yeah,
he's
absolutely.
got charisma. Yeah. Totally.
So I think we're going to be
more than anything else. The Doctor's got to have charisma.
Yes, that's right. And he definitely does. So we're going to be watching more Doctor Who. Tonight, I think. Yeah.
We would when the girls were younger and we were in the really binging Doctor Who. Like for Christmas, some of the gifts would be from the Doctor.
Oh, that's cute.
Instead of Santa Claus, it was from the Doctor. And then we would play the TARDIS sound at night when they were going to bed.
That's really, really great.
What a geek.
Yeah.
They loved it. They loved it. Plus, it's also like a wink and a nod, and like the whole thing about Christmas is that.
Right.
We never pretended it was real. We never said it wasn't real, but we never pretended it was real. And they got it. Like they got it. Like this is not real, but it's fun, and we're gonna play along.
Right.
And that kind of reinforced it. It's like they know the doctor's not real, but we're just sort of pretending. You know?
Yeah, that's cute.
Can I just jump into this latest season? I didn't see the end.
Yeah, you can jump into any. All you need to know is there's a new guy playing the doctor. That's it.
But wait, didn't Tennant showed up for a few episodes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
I gotta see that.
Jodie Whittaker regenerated into David Tennant,
All right.
and then he.
Well, don't tell me.
Okay.
But
Anyway.
I saw
You can start there.
Yeah.
I saw half of Jodie's season. Or did she have? She ended up with.
She did 3 seasons, and they're not good, unfortunately. She's great.
She
was great.
The writing was
the
writing.
Effing writing.
And every time I thought, oh, they're finally getting to some good writing, it's like it just petered out.
Yep, 100%. And it really did her a great disservice because I love her. She's so cool and fun.
Same thing with Peter Capaldi. I was so looking forward to Peter Capaldi's Doctor, and he was awesome. He was awesome. The worst scripts ever. I mean, like there's
a couple really good. We showed Audrey Heaven Sent, the one where he's trapped in the tower. That one's great.
That one's good. That's like a rare exception. There's a couple of that were good. And again, it was just like, okay, finally we're getting some good writing, but it was just, no, it's a one-off. But there were so many just, what the F is going on here?
Yeah.
It was so disappointing. But now they got the writer back, the
Russell T. Davies.
Russell Davies, yeah. And
so who was the best doctor?
I think it's Tennant, but
I think it's Steve.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I'm gonna go. Have a good weekend.
All right, thanks, y'all.
Yeah.
Good to talk to you, Brian.
Joining us, Brian.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Great to see you.
Brian, let's talk more about Vegas, okay?
Yes, please.
All right. Bye, guys.
Have a good weekend.
Okay, bye-bye.
Skeptic's Guide to the Universe is produced by SGU Productions, dedicated to promoting science and critical thinking. For more information, visit us at theskepticsguide.org. Send your questions to info@theskepticsguide.org. And if you would like to support the show and all the work that we do, go to patreon.com/skepticsguide and consider becoming a patron and becoming part of the SGU community. Our listeners and supporters are what make SGU possible.
Brian is still here. It's the only one.
Hi. I didn't know if everyone was hanging around or not.
No, Jay doesn't remember it, and Evan is the only one who knows about it. So
we're not live though anymore, right?
We are live. Actually.
Oh, we are.
We are.
Hi, everybody.
So, I don't know if you know. Maybe you don't know. There's a secret after show that Evan and I, and sometimes Jay, would do, and Steve and Bob. Nobody else knows about it. So as soon as the audio would fade out, we would come back.
Oh my gosh.
So we're still live. So
I guess we're doing it now.
We're doing it now. So you're part of the in group, which is pretty fun.
I love it. I love a secret show.
Yeah, secret show. So any questions for Brian as we're
I'll hang out for a bit. I gotta go pick up my kid in half an hour or so.
Yeah, that's good. So any new Trey stuff coming out? Are you working on that, or how's that going?
So for those of you watching, Trey Magnifique is my smooth jazz saxophone playing alter ego, and I just set dates to record a holiday EP.
Ooh.
In fact, I in typical smooth jazz fashion, I did a photo shoot for the cover before we've recorded a single note. So we're gonna have a holiday EP out. And then hopefully a full-length album recorded sometime early next year.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
Yeah, and actually, I have a Trey Magnifique. I should have said this. Why didn't I say this during the show? I have a show in New York at the Knitting Factory at Baker Falls, which is in Alphabet City, on July 17th. So I'm going to be doing a smooth jazz show. Then
that's very awesome. Okay, awesome. July 17th is a Wednesday.
That is a Wednesday. That's right.
Happening hot Wednesdays. So there you go.
Yeah. What about you?
All is well. doing the parent thing, I guess, trying to raise children.
Oh yeah,
in a crazy world. Other than that, yeah, just rock and rolling, music, and clicking things on my computer. I have a gig this weekend that I have to go out to Long Island to record a thing at an arboretum, so that's fun. So yeah, that's it. Jay have the kids. They should be the predator. I know Jay does have the kids, but so do Brian and I also have kids. So what's our excuse or something?
Yeah. I just have one. You beat me. You got to two.
Yeah,
I just have the one 10-year-old.
Mm-hmm. Can you talk more about the reunion show? Which reunion show?
The reunion show. Maybe they mean the anniversary show. Oh yeah.
The anniversary. Yes.
I mean, there's not too much to say about it right now. This is the Ninja Sex Party 15th anniversary show. What have we said? We're gonna have some surprises. It's gonna be very tasteful and elegant, as is everything I do. Our musical best friends, TWRP, are going to be on that with us. So we'll have a full 4-piece band behind us, and we do everything with these guys. So they're coming down to LA for that, and a few other surprises. So yeah, I don't want to say too much because
don't say too much.
Yeah, we're kind of keeping it
close to the chest.
Yeah. But yeah, it should be really fun. It's I'm rearranging some things. I'm the musical director, basically for the band and the show, and in charge of all the arrangements and stuff. So we're gonna try some new stuff.
And we got a shout out about your podcast also.
Oh yeah. Oh, there we go. Look at that. Put that up.
A little pop. Nope.
Yep. So I do a weekly podcast, Late Night with Brian Wecht, with Leighton Gray, who's awesome. And if you guys have enjoyed listening to me talk, you can listen to me talk even more on there without Steve constantly interrupting me.
Yes, I know. How dare he? Is there video too, or is it on just podcasts? Where do you get your podcasts?
There's video on our Patreon.
On your Patreon?
Like
nice.
Many podcasts, we now produce a weekly television show, and which you're well familiar with, Ian. And so we decided to do the video as a Patreon, bonus.
Yeah, awesome.
But
Brian, do you still read hardcore physics papers?
Hardcore
to keep up, or just settle for the clickbait summaries now?
Yeah. So again, for context, I'm a theoretical physicist. I left academics about 10 years ago. I was a string theorist, particle physics. I do read physics papers from time to time. It's hard enough when you're doing it as a job, much less as kind of a hobby. So I'm not working through stuff, but I'll look at the preprints, and if there's something that seems relevant to my interests, I'll look at it, especially if they cite my own work, then
then definitely.
But yeah, it's really interesting how, having been out of research for about 10 years now, to see in particle theory, like what has changed, what people are into now, as opposed to when I was working in the field, what the advances are. As always, there's cool stuff happening. There's kind of incremental progress across the board. The big change is since I left, seems like we're not going to find much, by which I mean any new stuff at the LHC. And that is a big bummer, but I think theoretical physicists are a little unclear what to do. Particle physicists, I should say, right now, because people were gearing up for that for a long time. And a lot of people were hopeful we'd see supersymmetry, whatever it is, something new. And so far, everything seems to kind of be what we expect. So
you just need a more powerful particle accelerator.
Okay, more powerful, or so the interesting thing with accelerators, right, is it's not just the what you call the center of mass energy, which is basically the total mass energy you can use to convert to other stuff, but every type of accelerator has a different background, and so certain things are harder to see in others. So the LHC is a hadronic collider, right? When you're colliding protons together, and so there's a lot of like quark stuff going on, and so there's all these like quark products that you got to filter out if you want to see anything interesting. If you're doing something like an electron positron collider or a muon collider or something like that, there are different backgrounds and different what you'd call channels, decay channels of stuff things can decay into or easier to see. So is it more power or is it just a different one? I don't know. And there are people who are very pro muon collider. There are people who are very pro hadron collider. I think it's very unlikely for another like a super powerful hadron collider to come through because the LHC is doing great physics. It's just not finding new stuff. Now maybe there is no new stuff. We just don't know. But if there's another collider, people do talk about one. In fact, I think China might be building one or maybe approved one. I have a bunch of friends who are very pro like muon collider.
Brian, are you going to try to catch a Snarky Puppy show?
Well, I saw them not too long ago here in LA. I saw them at the Orpheum. I was very happy. Like, they've got a great band and not too many of the people. I mean, it's a big collective. But for an encore, who did they bring out? Corey Henry. He came on out and he crushed as he always does.
That's awesome.
He was just at the Hollywood Bowl too for the jazz festival.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I love, Ian, this. I love Snarky Puppy.
Yeah, they're crazy.
And I was thinking, it's crazy to me that, so when I was in, college, I graduated in 97 for some age indicators. The idea that a kind of avant-garde jazz group could sell out a 3,000 seat theater was like unthinkable.
Right.
Unthinkable. And I love that we are in an era of bands like Snarky Puppy and Wolfpack and Lewis Cole and his projects and all these guys who are like doing some pretty weird stuff. And they're crushing. They're selling out all these great venues. It's awesome.
I mean, I'm wondering, like Jocko always toured with a big band. How much did he sell out? Was it still pretty small venues or was it like a couple thousand theater?
I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, he was pretty popular, right?
He was pretty popping in Weather Report. I mean, like,
Weather Report was playing big shows, but also they weren't quite as avant-garde, I think, as
I guess that's fair.
Their stuff was pretty, I wouldn't say poppy, but
big band jazz.
And not taking, like, I feel like
a little fusion, but
especially Lewis Cole takes some like real harmonic chances, right? Like,
definitely
weird stuff happening. And Snarky Puppy is playing in all kinds of odd time signatures and their instrumentation is wild. It's there's like stuff that you wouldn't expect that I think just from a taking chances point of view goes way beyond Weather Report and
that's true.
But yeah, Jocko was probably playing to thousands of people.
Yeah. Sure. All right, I think we're good for this extreme extra show.
I'm glad I stuck around. I thought we were gonna just hang out backstage, but this is
we can do that too. But no, that's fine.
But this is even better.
Yes, even better. Well, thank you everybody for being here. We will see you next time. I don't think we're going to do the Wednesday live stream because Steve is away, and also the Friday live stream we probably can do, but we will see. Maybe we'll have another secret guest.
Cool. And I do want to confirm. I swear I will not divulge the existence of the secret show to anybody else. This is just between us. And so I'm not going to mention it to Jay or Steve or who was the other guy? Bob? I think was his name.
That guy.
Yeah.
He's dead. That's fine.
That's right. Yes, we discussed that. Yeah.
We discussed. Brian explained his PhD in the form of interpretive dance. You'll have to come to the next Nauticon or Nexus for that.
That's right. Yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it there.
Yes. Thank you so much. All right. We're leaving. Bye-bye.